Welcome to BookHuddle. I'm your host, Karen Reeder with Readgab. Today I'm joined by Judith Rossell, and we were just talking about this before starting to record. Isn't it amazing that here I am in the Mountain West and Judith Russell in Melbourne, Australia, and we are connecting for this podcast. I'm so excited to have her here. This is one of my favorite books I've read this year. It is everything I love in a book, and some things I don't even know how to describe, Judith. It's just your writing style. It fits me. So, Judith, I'm so excited to have you on to talk to us about the Midwatch Institute for Wayward Girls. Can you take a
Thank you.
second and introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about you, separate from being an author.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, my name's Jude Rossell and I'm from Australia. I live in Melbourne, which is, I was just saying before, the bottom right corner of Australia. And things about me that are not about being an author. I started off working as a scientist, but it feels like a long time ago. I
Yeah.
worked for a government laboratory. We studied wool processing. I
Interesting.
I like to say that I'm the kid's illustrator who knows the most about early stage wool processing, and no one
I
has.
bet you are. You are owning that.
And another thing about me is right at the moment I'm trying to learn German
Oh,
as
cool.
a sort of a hobby, and it's very difficult.
Yeah, yes. The older we get, yeah, for sure too, learning more languages.
Yes, it's like doing the vocab is easy enough in German because it's quite similar to English often, but the grammar is like doing hard maths in your head every time you
Oh,
say something.
right, right. And then just the sounds, especially like I feel like Americans have the more coarse like Germans, but in Australia and England, you guys just have much more beautiful accent that I feel like it would be even harder to, I don't know, German just has that like coarse sound.
There's a lot of sounds.
Yes, yes. And there's beauty to it too, but yes. So let's do an icebreaker on a children's book. So, and this is one of my favorite books, and the newest is coming out right now, The Silverborn. So, Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. I love this fantastical world, and the characters all have a knack. That they have this just something that's unique about them that they are able to do. What would your knack be, Jude?
Well, the character in Nevermore whose knack I would most likely to have is it's Dame Chandra Kali, the fabulous opera singer. Firstly, I can't sing. It would be lovely to be able to sing
Yes,
like that. But when she sings, she attracts tiny woodland creatures to her. And I would really like that.
that would
If
be
I
so
see a
fun.
tiny woodland creature, I'm always going, "Oh, come and talk to me, you
Yes.
tiny little furry thing." So I think that would be wonderful. Imagine walking through the bush and you start singing, and all the little
They all come
animals
out.
come out.
Oh, that would be
That'd be great,
fantastic. What a neat
wouldn't it?
one to combine it with, right?
Yes.
It's the music. Yeah, that's something I've always would just love is the ability to sing and sound good. I can sing. I
Well,
do.
I can make noises
Yeah,
from my mouth.
right. I'm capable of doing that. And none of us can attract woodland creatures when we sing, no matter the talent. So that would be quite the knack. I love it.
I remember when I was in Scotland, they told me that if you sing, you can, the seals will come out of the water. And
Really?
yes,
Like
apparently
it's a
that's what
real thing, not like a little
well, I tried it.
I
My
did
singing,
copy.
my singing didn't do the job, I have to say.
Oh no.
Fell swimming away.
This oh man. All right, so tell us a little bit about the Midwatch Institute for Wayward Girls.
So the idea of the story is my main character, Maggie Fishbone, is delivered to this orphanage, which looks on the outside to be very grim in a big city in the 1920s, sort of. And she thinks it's going to be terrible because she's been sent there in disgrace from her other orphanage. And on the face of it, it does look terrible. The girls all wear hooded cloaks and sort of walk around looking very sad. But
Gloomy
in
music.
reality, it's a secret crime fighting organization. They have an underground lair underneath the school, which is in a disused subway station, but quite grand. And from there, there's secret passages that come up into the city with little trapdoors. So the
Right?
girls sneak out and run around solving crime, and then they can sort of dash back into
Yeah.
safety when they need to.
And they have like it's like a little school for them, the little useful classes that they're doing
Oh,
instead
yes.
of just sewing and things at the institute. I love this place. I think it's so fantastic and just imaginative. And at the
I
beginning,
thought
I wasn't even sure if it was going to be fantasy or not. Like you're kind of setting the stage and it felt fantasy, but you don't get as much of the fantasy until later in the book, right? And so,
that's right. I sort of it's just got a touch
right.
of
A
fantasy.
little bit.
There's a lot of airships, which are
Yeah.
not fantastical, but not very historically accurate.
Yes.
So there's a lot more airships than they really had. And also there's a few sort of monstery type things in the
Yeah.
story.
Like just this darkness that they're
Yeah.
against they have to fight and find the figure out the mystery. So
Yeah.
how when you're coming up with all of this, how did you decide time period? How did you decide how you wanted to set this up?
Well, the previous series I wrote, the Stella Montgomery series, is set in Victorian times.
Okay.
And when I was in the middle of writing it, so it's sort of 1880s, I was actually in New York on holiday and I went to a exhibition of jazz age design. So it was design from the 20s and 30s.
Neat.
And it was so extraordinary and so
Yeah.
modern, especially because I was kind of immersed in this dark Victorian
Right.
world that I'd created for the other book. A lot of the 1920s stuff, you wouldn't, it looks modern now, even though it's 100
Yeah.
years old. It
Yeah.
has that sort of dashing, designy, optimistic feeling between the wars, just that small window
Right.
between terrible disasters on both sides. But I was very attracted by it. I just thought it was partly the look of it and partly just that optimistic feeling.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was attempted to write a story set then just to capture that feeling which I had when I saw these beautiful artifacts.
And so
And
the airships were there, right? Just not
well,
so
they did
plentiful.
have
They
yeah,
had
they
like
did have some airships.
right.
Like they had big ones that flew from Europe over to America
Yes.
with very rich people on them, like the Hindenburg, obviously very
Yes,
famous one.
Danimer. Yeah, and I was trying to get a feel for that. Like I was like, is this like almost science fictiony? But then I was like, I guess airships were a thing, right?
They were
But
definitely a thing. I put a lot more in my story and smaller ones as well.
yes,
So I like the idea of a big city with lots of little airships sailing
floating
around.
around and they see them going about there.
Yeah.
It's just commonplace. There's the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, why not?
why not? Because that's fun. I like the airship. I'm gonna put it in my
Yeah.
book.
So
That's
it's sort of historical, but with a few extra things that I just particularly like.
that's cool. So then we've got the Wayward Girls. Did you know right away you were like, I'm going to have this adventure and these are the characters that are going to lead the adventure? Tell us about bringing in the Wayward and the ones that are just useless to society, the common proper society.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when I first started thinking about the story, I'd been reading about boarding schools
Yeah.
for a previous book I'd been working on. And some of the stories, I read a memoir of people who'd been to boarding school at about that time, 20s
Okay.
and 30s. And the girls' stories are so funny, like hilarious. And I thought, I'll do a boarding school book because boarding schools are fun.
Yes.
But, and then I think there's something about writing about these very privileged girls, which just
Right.
didn't feel so interesting to me. And then I was thinking about what other kinds of institutions there are. And when I had the idea of obviously orphanages are the other kind of institution they would have had in those days, that just seemed so much more interesting. Girls that were in the Australian edition, it's unwanted rather than wayward. But I
Right.
really enjoy wayward.
Oh,
Girls that
okay.
are, for whatever reason, not needed or wanted
Yes.
in
They're just
and sort of almost discarded. I wouldn't say that,
right.
but that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
that's kind of the nun. She's like, I just can't find any purpose for you anymore. So
That's right.
yeah.
But obviously, everyone's valued. And I
Yes.
like that idea of girls who are, not considered quite right have this immense value, of course. Like,
Yes. I love that. And I love when they're introducing them to the classes. They're just like, well, and let me know if this is right for you. You know, we've got lots of classes. Let's figure out what the best ones are for you. And the girls are just like, are they for real? Like,
I
what's going on?
know.
Because they thought that they're just being brought into this awful, awful place. And so the three girls being brought in are just shocked. I think they're just so shell shocked to the first few chapters, right? But
Yes, I think at one stage one of them suggests that they're being fattened up to be eaten because they can't, they don't expect things to be any good at all, I think.
right.
So it takes them a long time to get used to the idea that it's actually quite a good place for them.
Yes. And it's not even the, some of them come from families, right? That even their own parents sent them, that they were just like, no, you want to read? What good is it a reading child to me? And
That's right.
yes, I I love that it's just this variety of situations that they come from, and then they each bring their unique tools. And I feel like it's like that for kids in our schools today, that when they felt that they don't fit the mold, when they feel like, I'm not like everybody else in my class, when somebody does see good in them, they do almost discredit it. Like, what? Are you serious? Like,
Yes,
no,
what's going on here?
you're
I
right.
have to say for me, I was one of those people who really loved school.
Yes,
And so I think there was a pleasure for me in designing a school, which I think I would have quite enjoyed,
yes.
you know.
That's neat. So, and you're an illustrator. Did you do the cover? Is the cover your illustration?
Yes,
So the
yes,
cover and the pictures inside, those are all you.
yes.
Do you doodle as you write, or do you wait till you finish the whole story before you start creating these illustrations?
On the whole, I wait until I finish. I really like drawing the pictures. It's
Yeah.
my favorite part.
Mhm.
And I think I started off as an illustrator, and I think a trap you can fall into as an illustrator is when it comes to writing, is that you can end up writing the thing you want to draw
Yes.
rather than writing the really good story. And I very much believe story needs to come first. So I try and write it entirely first and then come back and draw the pictures. Although sometimes I draw the characters to help me
Okay.
along.
That kind of helps you connect and see them as you visualize them,
Yeah.
right? Because I hear so much authors talk about these characters become so real. And so then you can visualize them more as you see because I picture that I would get so lost in the drawing the pictures as I went along that I would draw so much more than write. So Grace Lynn said the same thing, that she's like, no, I've got to finish the story first and then I get to go back and do the
It's
illustration.
like eating your, I don't know, liver so you can have your delicious treats.
Right. It'd be fun. Well, that's so fun. So, what do you think it means for somebody to be useful? Because in the society that they're in, there's a specific thing that they're like, you're not useful, you're out. So, what does it mean for somebody to be useful?
Oh, that's so interesting, isn't it? Because the other thing in the story is the book that they refer
Yeah,
to is called Useful Things Every Girl Should Know. And that was the idea of things that will be useful to them, I suppose.
right,
So, like when they're having their life, it would be very useful to be able to, uh, change a tire, dance the
right.
Charleston, cook a cake, signal with Morse code, all these things that
Yes.
would be useful to them. But I guess to be useful in the world is to be useful to other people, I suppose, to be able to help people or do things that are of use to other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That you're not self-centered, but part of society, part of community, part of the greater
Yeah.
whole. And definitely the girls, they end up being a part of the whole. That that's
Yes.
what it is all about. Like, and they're very hesitant for that, even within their group of three as they come in, that they're like guarded. But yes, to learn to join a group and a community, community is so important.
Yes. I think sometimes we don't ask enough of our kids, do we? What I was thinking when I was writing the story is years ago I was a girl guide, which is like a girl scout.
Okay.
And we learned lots of things like bandaging and tying knots and
Nice.
semaphore. And we had stories about brave girls who saved the day, and rescued the baby from the bandits or whatever.
Right.
And I was really ready to do
You were
that. I
ready
felt
to
I
get in
felt
that.
ready.
Yes.
But the actual advice we were always given was, of course, call an adult.
Right.
If you find someone who needs bandaging, then the best thing to do is call an adult.
Right.
And I found that very frustrating because I was prepared to bandage the person and then
Yes.
carry them to safety or whatever.
Carry them over and
And I
everything.
think it was partly that feeling that I wanted to very much empower the characters in my story to do the useful
Yes.
things that save the day and have proper adventures rather than just call the adult. Although in real life, I'd still
It
probably
is.
give a child that advice. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. But that's so fun. The characters do. They just need to feel empowered. And at the end, they work with the adults. They have an adult involved. So they still
Yes. Even writing the story was interesting for me because the first version I had the adult go out with them
okay.
because I think I want to, as an adult,
That's
if
what
you're
you
in
would
charge
want
of
your
children,
children to do if you're
that's
talking to them.
right. You
Yes.
would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And I kind of want to keep them safe, and I had to make myself leave the adult back in the headquarters and send the children out because it's a story and that needs to happen in the story.
Yes, at the end of the day, it is a story and it's a kid's story. It's for the kids.
That's right.
So I was just thinking that today, and it was actually one that was realistic fiction, but I was thinking the same thing is that as kids read these things, because the terms the kids are using and things like that, I'm like, do they talk like that? And like, I actually don't know. Like some of the things that they were saying are just different culturally. I'm like, I don't know if people talk about that in that culture. Do they really use those phrases? And so I was picturing kids reading the books and being like, oh, this adult writer, do they know? Or how often a kid is like, yeah, yeah, you got it. You got it. Well, they probably don't
It's,
think that. They only
that's like
think that if you don't have it.
it's like I was talking to my nephew who's 15, and
Okay.
I was saying I'm thinking of my next book maybe having a boy as the main character. I'm
Okay.
interested in writing something about boys. And he said, "What do you know about boys?"
You
And I'm like,
know,
"I know things.
know
I
something.
know many things."
I met a
But
boy
fair
once.
point. He possibly knows more.
He might. He
He
just
might.
might. But he can give you some input, maybe. Tell him
Exactly.
he can read some of the early stuff and tell you where you were wrong.
That's right. Helpful. Helpful boys.
What do you know about a boy?
No. And I'm like, oh yeah.
That's fun. So I love this theme in your book of hope. I wanna share a quote from your book because I loved it so much. I had to go and jot it down on a paper for me. This is Maggie. For a moment, she could almost imagine it, but then she told herself that a person named after an old herringbone in the gutter could never expect to see her name spelled out like that in shining gold letters. Surely it was impossible.
Oh,
And
poor old
for
Maggie.
people to go from just feeling so down on themselves and not having hope and having that change. So tell us about writing this, empowering your characters to have hope in a way that you're wanting to pass on to readers. Tell us about giving hope to characters.
Well, I think kids sort of, to some extent, who we tell them they are a little bit, and if Maggie's this character who she's terrible at everything. I really wanted to write a character who is not secretly brilliant
Right.
at magic or, secretly the princess of something.
And then the
She's
first time she tries something new, she just does it just right, or yeah.
That's right. And she's discovered, or she's just really gifted at some surprising thing, which Maggie's not. She's really not very good at anything, although she discovers all kinds of strengths inside
Yeah.
herself. But I
Discovers an
think,
ability to learn too when she's studying
yes,
German, that she's like, this is
yes,
hard, but I could start learning this. Like at first the teacher's like, like it's almost painful for him to listen to her. But then she's like, I can learn.
that's like me with my German classes. Same, same. But also, I think she learns that she can step up and she can be a bit of a leader and she can be really brave. And these are things that are not lessons exactly,
Right.
but it's that thing of if the people around you have confidence in you, then you discover these things about yourself. And I guess I wanted to show that she's been raised as she was terrible at the things she needed to be good at a previous orphanage, which was mainly sewing
Right.
and being good. She's not good at either of those things.
They were trying to prep them to be a housemaid or something like that.
That's right. That's right. And I imagine the nuns were very good at sewing. And so the
Yeah.
girls who were good at sewing were like top at
Yes.
that school. But at this new school, there's a much wider range of things to try.
Yes.
And hopefully she will find some of those things that she enjoys or is quite good at. But also this sense of, it's not really about that. It's not about being good at particular things or anything. It's about having confidence in
Yeah.
yourself and yeah, trying things and learning and getting better. I'm a big believer in practice. I think as a child, I remember that thing of like, I've always liked drawing.
Right.
And that's something that people tend to say, oh, I wish I could draw, but I can't draw at all. It's like I was saying about singing.
Right. Right.
But I know if I wanted to be better at singing, I would go to singing lessons and
Yes.
practice, and I would definitely get better. I might not be great, but I would be better.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think that's how it is with almost all the skills in
right.
the world, isn't it?
We've all got some amount of potential in us, right?
Mm.
Maybe we aren't amazing artists that are destined to become whatever, but with training and practice and work, we could have different skills in different arts, music, or
Mm.
drawing. It takes, yeah, like you're saying, it
And you
takes
don't have to
having
be
the
the
practice.
like the best at something to enjoy it and be productive and useful and you
Yes.
know.
And to be
And
happy.
I think that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to express in
Yeah.
the story.
I like that, that you don't have to be the best at something. You can do this and contribute and also
Mm.
find joy in it.
And most things are not a competition. Like,
Right.
you know, um, me learning German, I'm never going to be mistaken for a German speaker, but
Translator.
I can get better and I can communicate, and
Yes.
it's an achievement for me and
Right.
makes me feel pleased with myself.
And achievements are to be celebrated,
Yeah, I
regardless of
think so.
how we're comparing ourselves and our achievements rather than to somebody else and what they can do.
And I think with kids too, if we tell them that they're, capable and they can give it a go, they're much more likely to do that and practice and get better than if we say, oh, you're terrible at this. This is not for you.
Right. And there's only one right way to do it. This is the skill
Yeah.
you should have, and this is the skill you should use, and that's how you'll be useful. But let's find. Let's find the things you're interested in. Let's find the things that you're happy to do, or what do you want to learn?
Mm. What
Yeah.
makes you happy? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Although there's some things we have to learn anyway, like, reading.
Yes, yes. Certain amount of math and science in
Yeah,
our lives. Yes, for sure.
that's right. So,
Yeah.
so
There's
yeah, I wanted to show Maggie going from being very unsure of herself to ending up being sort of confident and happy at her place in this new place with her friends around her. And
I love that you're trying to help her build confidence. If that can be given. And I feel like, there's generally kids at a young age, they're generally pretty happy and confident in their lives, that you don't have as many timid 4-year-olds, right? That generally 4-year-olds are pretty like, here we go, here we go. Like, I can learn new things. There are definitely some. But then often it comes later as they grow up. And then a
yeah.
lot of them, and hopefully we'll get more and more of them, will grow back into confidence.
Yeah, I hope so. I go into schools a bit, and if I say to the kids, who likes to draw?
Yeah.
The youngest kids, every hand. It'd be
Yes.
really unusual to have a little kid who doesn't put their hand up.
Right.
And as you go along, it gets fewer and fewer. And when you get to high school, I probably wouldn't ask that. Who likes to draw? Um, to a room of teenagers. But I think it's the world telling the kids they're not good enough.
Right.
Their drawings are not good enough, and that feels a bit sad.
Yeah, I went to a writers conference and I was volunteering and watching the teenagers being taught by big name authors. And one of my very favorite, I was feeling fangirled when I got to meet her, was Margaret Peterson Haddocks. And she's standing there talking to the teenagers, hundreds of kids in the audience, and she says, and when you get published, and you will, and you can. And the way that she's saying it, she's not like, I am the exception to, she didn't have that attitude that she was an exception. And it's really hard. I remember when I first looked into writing children's books that I saw this quote that it was like, you would have a better chance of being cast in a movie. And that it's so hard to break out into children's books. And I that did feel so discouraged. But to have somebody have confidence in you and be like, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah.
Approach it with a attitude of ability. I
Mm.
For lack of the can-do attitude, right? If you have
Yes.
this can-do
Yes.
attitude, it sounds cliche to have a can-do attitude, but you've got to first start with confidence in yourself.
Yes, I think I feel sometimes quite lucky. I started in the publishing business before there was much information available.
Right?
Like I'm from the past. And so when I started as an illustrator, I didn't understand how it worked at all, and there was no way of finding out. So
Right.
I just physically took my folio around to publishers. I wrote letters to make appointments because this story is from the past.
Right.
And so I didn't hear any of this discouraging statistics people get told now about how many people don't manage to succeed. I think sometimes too much information before you even start is not so helpful.
Right. That can be an hindrance.
That's right. I mean, it's very discouraging to hear something like that, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas if you just think, oh, that'd be fun, people do that. I'm a
I can do
person,
that. I'm a
you
person.
know.
I've got a brain and an ability to
That's
type
right.
and write. I can
I'm
hold a
also
pen.
a person. So,
Yes. I have some
yeah,
creativity up here.
yeah. How hard can it be? And then you find out as you do it.
Yes. And I think that is one of the biggest things. Actually, for me, having this YouTube channel, having this podcast, that when I talk to other people, one of the biggest things they say is the biggest thing to your success is keeping going.
Yeah.
And that would be similar for creatives like you of illustrators and writers, that nobody's going to succeed when they stop. And so I love that your book is all about empowering these girls, these wayward, unwanted, useless girls to keep going and have confidence to learn and to
Yeah,
be successful. They can be successful. You're not going to be successful if you don't try.
that's true. With my people who want to get published, I always say you need three things. You need a really good story, really well written, but that's in your power. And then you need luck, and that's out of your hands, but
Yes. That
and
dice
then you need a
roll.
whole lot of determination. And I think it's the determination that's the most useful of the three, really. You just
Yeah.
have to keep going.
And that's something we can give and encourage children is,
Yeah.
yeah, I can have confidence in you. I know you can do this. Keep going.
Yeah.
We can give encouragement. That is something within our power to give.
And that thing of not giving up when it's difficult or not giving up when you are not succeeding,
Right.
like to power through.
Yes. Yes. Oh, ooh, let's do another one of your quotes. I don't know
Oh,
if I did it word for word because sometimes I just start jotting down and I don't go back and make sure it's word for word. But you said you were scared, but you did not give up. That is brave. And so when we don't give up, when we keep trying something, I think it's two of the girls talking to each other when they're feeling sad and they're like, I can't keep doing. Am I right? That one of them said,
yeah.
I
I
can't
think
keep doing this.
that's Sophie
Sophie
who's
to
very
Nell, maybe? Or so okay.
yeah, Sophie telling Nell that
Yes.
because Nell's a bit timid and Sophie's very practical. And she used to be in a circus. So Sophie is the one who used to be a tightrope walker.
Right.
And she fell off the tightrope. That's how she ended up in this institution. And but I think she's got quite a practical approach. So she's like, of course you're scared.
Yes.
Everyone's scared. It's a scary situation. But, the important thing is that you keep going.
And that makes you brave. That,
Mm.
yeah. And then she says, but then sometimes you fall just the same because that's life, right?
Yeah. And that's so true, isn't it?
Right? Sometimes we don't succeed. And
Yeah.
and that's just life. But we keep going and we keep
And I
trying.
think that's really important for kids to know too, because this sometimes the message is, oh, just believe in yourself and everything will
And
be
it'll
fine.
be
And
great.
that's
Yes.
it's not, we know the world doesn't work like that.
Right.
And sometimes bad things will happen and sometimes you fall, and that's life, isn't it?
Right. And so yeah, be realistic, but doesn't mean don't keep going. Doesn't mean don't
No,
have confidence.
that's the
Doesn't mean don't
important thing.
try. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, again, talking about my students, I used to have people come to the class and they would say, I sent my story off to a publisher and I never heard back.
Right.
And so I never wrote again. And
Oh,
you're like, oh, darling, you have to do a bit better than that.
yes. That you just chose the end of your story right there
That's
by
right. I mean, how
sending it.
much more exciting story is it? I send it off and I send it off and I send it off and I send it off. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. And then one day,
Yes.
that's where the story starts. It's
Yes.
not giving up before it even starts. That's not
Right.
a good story.
That's not a good story at
That's not
all.
going to get you on a talk show.
That's not you believing in yourself either. Did
No.
you find your story that valuable to only give to one person?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
All right. Well, Judith, can you recommend a favorite story of your own, a favorite story besides your own? Sorry.
Oh, yes. Well, I've been listening to your wonderful podcast, and I noticed a few people have picked two. And
Yes.
so I've
You're
gone
always
with the
welcome.
two.
Yes.
I've
Of
gone with an
course.
old one and a new one. So
Oh,
my oldie is The Wolves of Willoughby Chase by Joan Aitken,
okay.
possibly my favorite kids writer in the world, but
Okay.
from the past. This
Okay.
is a great one to start with. The Wolves of Willoughby Chase is the start of her big series,
Okay.
but I'd also totally recommend her short stories, which are
Okay.
really wonderful. She's no longer with us, a British
Okay.
writer, Joan Aitken.
Cool.
Um,
Well,
and my
tell us
new
a little bit about what that one's about. What is it about?
Oh, this one's wonderful. She writes a alternative history
Uh-huh.
set in I think it's like the 1820s, 1830s in England. And in this alternative history, um they've managed to build the Channel Tunnel, I think, and the wolves are coming through from France into England. And our hero I'm terrible with the names of characters.
Me too.
Sylvia
Uh-huh.
and Bonnie are the two girls in the story, and one of them has been sent to live at this manor house with the other one. They're cousins,
Yes.
and the parents are going away, and the evil governess has taken over, and there's wolves, and there's snow, and there's dark deeds, and there's a grim orphanage, and there's an adventure
Sounds
with a
fantastic.
boy, and it's got everything. And there's this one scene where the two girls are ice skating down the river together
Mhm.
and the snowy hills all around, and the wolves are circling, and it's so exciting. I read
Oh,
this as a kid,
nice.
um, but it's the start of a big series. But this
Cool.
is the good one to start with.
Okay.
And she also writes short stories, which are so imaginative and fantastical. I can't recommend her writing highly enough. Everyone should read Joan Aitken.
Okay. I have not yet,
Um,
so I will.
And my new one is so new it's not even out yet, but this is by Karen Foxley,
Okay.
who's an Australian writer. She
Okay.
wrote, what's it called? Lenny's Book of Everything is perhaps her best known
Okay.
book.
I've heard of it, but I
Um,
haven't read it.
this one's called The Wondrous Tale of Lavender Wolf. It's going to have a different cover. This is a reading copy, and it's so strange and so fabulous. It's about pirates.
Okay.
But it's also about fantasy. And this character, Lavender Wolf, who most of the time in the story is called Hans, is captured by a troll
Okay.
who is a cook on a pirate ship and under a curse, and taken onto the ship to be a rat in the kitchen. So she's working in the kitchen. Um, uh, most of the time she's a boy called Hans, but
Okay.
in reality she's a girl called Lavender.
Ooh.
And there's princesses, there's a ghost pirate ship, there's a treasure chest. The captain of the ship is a woman with one wing. It's
Okay.
the oddest story. I really loved it. You have no idea what's going to happen next in this story.
Oh, it
One of the
sounds
things I really like
fantastic. I
One of
hope
the things I
I
like
hope it's
about
good.
Karen's writing is her books are all quite different from each other and
Neat.
so imaginative and quite different from other things I've read, which is
Right.
so unusual these days, isn't it?
Right,
When you read
right.
a lot.
So there's always something similar. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I hope it's out in America. If not, I'll have to figure out how to get my hands on it.
Yes, I wasn't sure because we get definitely get different books.
Yes, right. I know when we were talking Nevermore, I was like, oh, I know you already have the newest one in Australia that and
That's
it's
right.
different release times too, or sometimes they'll be like, okay, this was really popular, now we'll release it over
Yes,
to
and who knows how
Canada.
these things happen? It's very mysterious.
Right.
I'm so happy for the Midwatch to be coming out in the States. I can't wait for American kids to read it.
Yes. Oh, and I'll tell you, it's somehow they already know because I did my advanced reader copy, but then I went back and I was just going to listen to it today to kind of give myself a little refresher. And I had put it on hold before it even released on Libby. And when I went to click on it, it showed me 8 people are waiting to
Oh,
listen to it. And so
oh,
that's pretty cool that already you've got a big line of people waiting
oh,
because
that's nice.
to be able to see that.
Oh, and I haven't heard the American audiobook yet, but I heard samples and I thought they did a brilliant job with the
Ooh,
voices.
yes, I really like, how do I say her name? The one that leads them, Mandlay?
Oh, Miss Mandalay,
Miss
yes.
Mandalay. Yes,
She's
I
quite a
really like
quite
her voice on there. It
quite
sounds like
fancy
love.
lady.
Yes, it's perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
Judith. It was wonderful to have you.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.